Team, what is up? Welcome to Becoming a Bowhunter. This episode is brought to you by the Bowhunters Challenge. If you'd like to become a fitter, more well-rounded bowhunter, then you should check out www.bowhunterschallenge.com. That's www.bowhunterschallenge.com. It's a 12-week program designed for bowhunters by myself, a bowhunter, in the goal or with the purpose of making you guys a fitter, more well-rounded individual when it comes to getting out in the field and pretty much just becoming the best bowhunter you can. So if you'd like to learn more about how you can become healthier and fitter, live a better life, and also become a better bowhunter on the side because of it, then check out www.bowhunterschallenge.com.
Hey there, and welcome to Becoming a Bowhunter. I'm your host, Matty, and join me and our guests as we take the quality of meat back into our own hands, searching the wild for free-ranged animals to harvest as ethically as we can. I interview a variety of specialists from the bowhunting community to help fast-track your journey as a bowhunter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this chinwag on one of your favorite topics in the world, bowhunting.
Team, what is up? I have an absolute treat today. Sitting here today with Harry Watson. We've got a really cool podcast to share with you. A lot about getting really, really close to animals and I guess kind of Harry's experiences with literally standing pretty much on top of animals whilst hunting them and waiting for them to kind of see him, which I think is just absolutely incredible. But at the same time, he just has some really cool perspectives and really cool outlooks on hunting because of the amount of hunting that he's done. He's learnt from some of the best within Australia. I'd say that he's probably one of the best or one of the most travelled within Australia himself. And so therefore, he's just got a lot to offer in regards to his stories and just the experiences that he shares. So yeah, I think this is a really cool podcast. I'm looking forward to having Harry on for a part 2 later down track. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Guys, welcome back to Becoming a Bowhunter. Excited here, sitting with Harry Watson. Harry, welcome, mate.
G'day, guys. How you going?
Yeah, dude, good to have you on. So, I mean, actually, I came across your page quite a while ago. We actually got talking. I reckon it must have been over a year ago now that we got talking about doing a podcast together and agreed on it and just never actually found the time to do it. So here we are, finally got you on the show. But you're a veteran hunter, I think is the best way to put it. But you're also the owner of Jackal Lures, right, here in Australia.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I own that. Yep. A veteran hunter.
Yeah, I want to say that. I don't know.
Well, let's just say I hunt slow. I've been around a while and I hunt slow.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing I wanted to say is more so the experience. I don't know if the veteran is the right way to say it or not, but definitely an experienced hunter, right? You've been around the block a few times.
Yeah, I've shot a couple of animals, and I started, I think, when I was 5, and I was a rifle shooter for, 50 years, and then started on the bow, and then that's just become such an addiction that I just haven't stopped,
Yeah.
So I think I've been bow hunting for, 15 or 20 years or something.
Yeah, wow.
Maybe 15, yeah.
Did you find it hard transitioning from rifle hunting to bow hunting?
I found it hard in a way that I didn't realise what was in it. Like, I just thought it was a matter of, because at the time I sort of had like a really good pig property out west where there was pigs laid on, and you'd go there with a rifle and you'd sort of run out of bullets, if you want to shoot them. But I just got sick of it. It sort of become just too easy, and it become boring, actually, rifle shooting in the end. So when I changed to the bow, I just thought, this would be a bit more interesting. But then it more become I think it becomes an addiction and not in that the shooting is like to make an arrow hit, say, a golf ball. I remember when I started, I talked to a guy down south and I said, like you could hit a soccer ball at 30 yards or 40 yards. And he goes, I can hit a golf ball at 40. And I was like, that's got to be a joke. And he's like, nah, I can hit a golf ball at 40 yards. He was a 3D shooter, and I thought, wow, and now I can hit a golf ball at 40 yards. So, but it's taken that long to get it, and it's just like it's an addiction. Like you just want to keep doing it. But I'm more the type of guy who gets addicted to being 5 yards off an animal rather than being like I see guys commenting on, posts on Instagram or Facebook or whatever and saying, oh, good shot. Like a lot of American stuff. Oh, good shot. I shot this blah, blah, blah animal at say 57 yards or 68 yards or 72 yards. And everyone's going, oh, great. That's great. And I'm like, mate, I would really give you a like and really congratulate you if you said you stalked into 15 yards and shot it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more skill. To me, there's a lot more skill in that. And that's bow hunting for me. I don't know about other people, but when you get into, say, under 20 yards from a decent stag or a big hog or, a 40-inch goat or whatever it is, or a moose or a caribou or an elk or whatever, that adrenaline rush is just, that's what I bow hunt for. It's that close. When you can see their eyes, like when you're that close where you can look at a stag laying there and you can tell he's asleep or he's looking, then that's when you're close. Like, you're in their zone and you get that feeling of, oh, wow, and you start shaking and the heart's pumping, and that's bow hunting to me. Like, that's what it's all about,
So, I mean, and this is something that I've always tried to bridge the gap with in conversation. It's a hard thing to do because close encounters like that typically, especially while I've been starting bow hunting, have only really happened by accident, not on purpose. It's always the goal to get as close as possible. Like I think pigs I've definitely done it with. I've been that close with, and goats I've been that close with, but not on the deer or anything like that yet. And so, I mean, closing that gap, like I'm talking the difference between even 40 to 20 meters, 20 to 15 meters, 15 meters inwards, like closing that gap. What did you kind of find were the biggest movers for you with that?
It's always, the biggest thing is always wind. That's always the highest priority for any bow hunter has to be wind all the time. If an animal smells you, then you're done, and the thermals always basically, they always drift down of a morning. And then by 10, when the tops start to warm up, they'll come up. So you have to think about all that when you start a stalk. And then it's just the fact that once you're under 30 from a deer, like a pig and a goat, you can get away with. Old hogs, like they're pretty switched on as well, but and dingoes and stuff like that. But once you're in that zone under 30, you really can't get away with any sort of quick movements. You have to only move when the wind blows or like the leaves ruffle, and you got to look down and you got to pick your spots in leaves and where to put your feet, and but maybe probably have your boots off. And I don't think there's any one thing, because like I've just come back from a chiddle hunt, and with those things, you can't make one mistake.
Yeah.
Like you make one mistake inside 40, then your hunt's over. You might as well turn around and walk away because they've got you.
Yeah.
And then that way they win that encounter. Basically, once they've pretty much seen you, might still get a shot, and hey, you might get that animal, but he's won the encounter in the fact that you sort of mucked up your stalk. You moved when he had his eyes facing your way, or his doe was looking your way, or you didn't wait till he put his head in the grass before you drew, or or could be any small thing like that. There's just so much to learn. Once you move up into deer, the whole game just changes. They're such a switched on animal,
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever had it where you're so close that the sound of the drawing is what kind of attracts the animal to you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I sort of always I see a lot of guys hunt with their packs on. Sometimes you do hunt with the pack on, but then if I get the opportunity, I'll get me pack off, because invariably when you go to draw, your pack creaks.
Yeah.
Or it restricts you just that little bit. I just don't like shooting with a pack on, or I always just make sure when I have a shot of a morning before I go out that my rest is not making a noise, or my bow's not creaking, or there's just anything. You just move your foot wrong and brush a leaf or something when you're drawing or do anything, and a deer at 20 yards is going to get you.
Yeah, yeah. So,
and sometimes they're silly, like they might stop and look and give you a shot, but other times they're just busted and they're gone. They won't stop for 400 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, let's maybe dive into what this last Chiddle hunt was like for you and how it kind of played out, because you were successful a few times over, weren't you?
Yeah, I shot a few cull stags, yeah. Which, like to me, to stalk or call a stag that's, let's say he's 5-year-old, whether he's 5-year-old with big antlers or small antlers, or he's got no inners, or he's, he's only a double 4 if he's a red, or he's got small palms. It's just as much skill in killing him as there is one with big antlers. Like it's a more an experience thing. It's like shooting a velvet stag. He's still switched on. Mm-hmm. He's 5 years old and he's been hunted. He's not silly just because he's got a different type of something on his head.
Yeah, no, definitely agree.
But yeah, that's all. That's what I killed there. Like I killed, I think, 3 culls, and I shot a couple of does for meat, and a couple of the stags I shot were only probably 4-year-olds with small inners. So they weren't rutting real hard, so their meat was really good. So, and I keep just like 100% of the meat if I can get it out.
Yeah, that's unreal. And so, I mean, some of those stalks, like for instance, is it like, especially with the Chiddle, and I've got more of an interest in Chiddle recently because I actually just got access to a Chiddle block close to where my red block is, and they pretty much said, look, we've got 270 acres. Pretty sure it's 270 acres. Like, it's next to nothing, but the Chiddle cross it every single day in the afternoon.
Yep.
So I've got a lot more of a vested interest in Chiddle, but at the same time, it's probably maybe a slightly different game because they're just crossing the same point every day. So whether I just need to wait till the winds are right and just set myself up, or whether there is something different to do in that sort of situation. So that's my instance, but I guess I'd like to hear from your point of view what you'd do there, but also what actually kind of played out with your hunt.
Yeah, well, that sort of situation that you're in there sounds like if they're just coming through, then sounds like an ambush situation. You'd set yourself up, find their trails or the gully they're travelling along with the ridge, and set yourself up on the downwind side and hope they walk, within range.
Yeah.
That sort of situation, or who knows? Like sometimes, they might hang there too if they don't get disturbed, or it's like a case by case scenario with Chiddle deer or any deer really. You go out one day and it's this, we'll go up here, and then the next day it's no, we're going to have to run the gully or do whatever.
Yeah.
But where I hunt's more your typical scrubland, lantana, river bottoms, gullies, breakaways. So you get to utilise all different types of terrain. Like it's probably got every type of terrain, right out to open grasslands where you might find a stag bedded. He might be 300-400 yards from any tree, and he might be bedded in open grass. So that's a different stalk altogether. And it's a real learning curve, that, and the wind blows different ways at different times of the day. I was probably pretty lucky on this hunt. I think the first night I got there it rained, and then we got a westerly wind for 2 days. Yeah. Which you rarely get there. And so I hunted basically from daylight till dark because I knew that sort of a wind at about 15 knots it was. So that's just unreal if you want to hunt that sort of animal, then it's just a matter of slow stalking or hearing it. You might hear them, or you slow stalk, just look for them, and you find antlers in the grass and then you stalk them.
Yeah. And so when they're rutting, are the Chiddle doing anything in particular like that? Do they make calls or anything like that?
Yeah, they call sounds a bit like, I suppose a little bit like a donkey.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit funny. They usually call like 3 or 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
So they make 4 calls, and I wouldn't say all the time, but usually the ones call and they'll be with does, but I don't know. I think maybe they call to attract does or what it is. They're a bit weird. You'll see them just on their own walking and they'll call. And I think they're just looking, maybe a doe calls off in the distance, which we probably wouldn't even hear, but they hear it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You see them call and walk, and they'll walk 2 kilometres, and they'll call every 20 minutes or half an hour. So I suppose they're looking for something, or
it's just trying to attract
I'm
them
not
in.
sure.
And so, like, I mean, the most I've really talked about Chittle has been with the Doomsters boys, and they kind of talk about like literally spotting antlers is kind of their game of play, right? Like, is that much the same sort of style hunting you've found for them?
Yeah, like especially if the grass is up. Like, I'm colourblind, so I don't see animals real good in. Like, if there was a chittle standing in a lantana bush, I wouldn't see it. Like, it might be it could be a completely different colour, but I wouldn't see it. But I'd see its antlers.
Yeah.
Same as in the grass. Like 90%, I reckon, of the deer that I see antlers.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. So you're when you're glassing, you're literally looking for stick-like things, essentially.
A white stick.
Yeah.
And when you go, like, I hunt every now and then. I'll hunt with someone that's a little bit inexperienced, and you'll say, "Oh, there's that tree over there, 150 yards away. There's a stag laying behind that tree," and they'll put their glasses on it and go, "No, there's no deer there." And I'm like, "Don't look for a deer. See that stick?" And I'll say, "Just watch that stick." And like, there'll be no other deer there, and they'll go, "Okay, I'll watch that stick," and then they'll say, "Oh, the stick moved," and I'll go, "Yeah, that's right." Yeah, so it's all. When I first started going, I was hunting with Smithy, and he would see every deer before I seen it because I was looking for deer. I was looking for an animal, and I read, like, obviously if it's bear or if you're looking on the side of ridges, or you're looking long distance, you'll look for an animal. But these days, like when I'm in any sort of cover or anything like that, it's ear flicker, antler.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I'll be standing there and I'll be looking and I'll go, "Was that a butterfly or was that an ear flicker?" And I'll put my knockies up and I'll watch, and then I'll see another flicker and I'll go, "No, there's a doe bedded there." Like, and it might be 100 yards away in that lantana.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you might find, "Oh, there's another one," and over there beside that bush, oh, there's a stick. Yep, that's an antler.
Yeah, wow.
And that's basically chittle hunting, because they're so switched on. But they're like most deer. If you don't get that jump on them, if you don't see them first, if you're not undetected, you don't have a chance. Like, that's the whole challenge with most deer. It's staying undetected, seeing them before they see you or smell you or hear you, and then you're 50% better off. Once any deer sees you, smells you, or hears you, you're pretty much
doomed.
You're pretty much done.
Yeah, especially with the bow, right?
Yeah. Oh, with a rifle, you can still shoot them as they're running off, and you can get a second shot. But with a bow, it's a one shot. It's a one shot thing. Even if they're 20 yards off you, if you hit them wrong, you're rarely going to get another shot unless you knock them down.
Yeah. And so with your chittle, if you're in close and you're taking a shot and they're unaware that you're there, are you aiming spot on the vitals where you want to shoot, or you're still aiming low?
Man, same. It's a case by case basis. But I would honestly say 90%, at least 90% of the chittle deer you shoot will jump the string. I don't care if they're 10 yards.
Yeah.
They will move a little bit. So it's like, if it's one of the stags I shot while I was away, he was a 35, which is rare that I'd shoot a deer that far, but it was windy. The wind was blowing in my face, and it was like, where we hunt, there's a lot of those big round sort of gum leaves, and they make a lot of noise and they're rattly.
Yeah.
So there was all that sort of noise going on, and I drew on him. He had his head down behind a doe. His whole body was exposed, but he had his head down behind a doe feeding, and it was noisy. And I reckon I aimed just above his elbow, probably an inch.
Yeah.
And I reckon if he jumped the string at all, it was an inch. That was it. I hit him, smashed him straight through the heart. Like, he ran 20 yards and fell over. So
yeah.
But that's that wind. Like, he would not have heard that arrow. He wouldn't have heard me bow go off, and he wouldn't have heard the arrow in the air.
Yeah. Okay.
He might have heard it when it was 10 yards away and it was too late, you know.
Have you done anything like down the lines of testing sounding of arrows just to make sure that you're not too noisy for an animal like that?
Oh yeah, we all do that. Like, there's I'll get different flights and try them, and mate's got, everyone has their choice of flights. I remember I used to use certain flights, and Smithy would say to me, you need to get like just cut them flights off and put something different on there because they're too noisy. And I used to say, no, they seem all right to me. And then I stood down range in between the shooter, shot one of my arrows, and I was like, whoa, I can get rid of them. I'm actually now I've gone to I still like small vanes. I still like the short two. I think they're boning bolts. I shoot them for fletch. And they're as quiet as I've found.
Yeah, okay.
You know, but I don't have a heap of helical. I have a little bit of helical on them, enough to spin them. I'm shooting Cayugas, the Gen 2s. So when I shoot them, it's most of the time I'll just shoot them with the bleeders in. But lately when I've been shooting chittle, I'll take the bleeders out and just shoot them as two blades.
Yeah.
Because I just think that makes them a little bit quieter again.
125s.
Just depends on my arrow setup. Yeah, I'm shooting at the moment I'm shooting gold tip kinetic chaoses, 300 spine, and I'm shooting 125s on the front of them. So my arrows are about 510, I think, grains.
Yeah.
They're around that. And now I've just got a little project going at the moment. I want to just change my weight forward. So I've just got a dozen Victory RIP TKOs, so they're 9 grain per inch for 250 spines, and I've got 200 grains up the front of them. A 50 grain insert, and I shoot a 150 grain Gen 2 on the front of them.
Yeah, wow.
And that gives me 490, about 490 to 495 grains. So around about the same weight arrow, it's the same trajectory out to what was I testing them today? 40 yards, exactly the same impact. Once I get to 50 and 60, they shoot a fraction flatter. But I mean, I don't shoot animals at that anyway. So they're pretty much it just gives me. I just think it'll give me a little bit more weight up front. So it just might give me a little bit more penetration.
Yeah,
but it's just a bit of a project. I thought, I just want to try them. You know, a 250 spine too, they're a bit stiffer.
Have you had issues with penetration, or you just wanted to try it?
Nah.
Just want to see what it's like.
I always shoot arrows between about 480 to 510, and then that way I've got half decent trajectory, because I'll fully admit that I use a rangefinder most of the time, but I'm not great with distance. So if an animal's, I might think, he's 25 yards, but when I range him, he's 28. So if I'm shooting the arrows I'm shooting, I'm still. If I aim at the top of his heart, I'll still get him.
Yeah.
I'll still heart shoot him, or he'll jump the string and I'll still get him. But if I'm shooting with my draw length and my poundage, if I'm shooting a 600 grain arrow, I've missed him.
Okay.
I'm going to clean. I just can't afford to, there's this big push at the moment. 700 grain arrows and 600 grain arrows, and you see it all on, on YouTube and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, yeah. But the guys pushing this are shooting pigs under a feeder.
Yeah.
So they're sitting 20 yards from them. They've got a range. Yep, be 20 yards in, no problem. Yeah, I'm going to go through that pig and into the dirt. Well, so does my 500 grain arrow.
Yeah.
Like, if you shoot super sharp broadheads, 500 grains, you'll shoot scrub balls, no worries, and probably buffalo.
Yeah, I'm actually quite confident with my setup for all of Australian animals. And that was something that hitting the field, knowing that, it gives you a great lot of confidence, right? Like knowing that you can take down anything is a big deal, I reckon.
I'm not going to shoot a scrub bill quarter on in any circumstances with an 800 grain arrow. So that doesn't worry me. I'm going to shoot him broadside, and I'm going to shoot him, up above the elbow or high lungs or something like that. So that's all a matter of once you get over that, I would say 470, 480. Once you get up in there and 500 grains, you're pretty much shooting through anything. I don't know about buffalo because I've never shot buffalo with a bow, but anything else in Australia, you're pretty much, if you're not going clean through them, there's something wrong with your setup.
How tall are you, Harry?
Nearly 6 foot, 5'11".
And so what's your draw? 29?
I'm 29 with a normal bow, 28 and a half with a Matthews V3.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
They must be just set up different. Like when I got it, and it's only that it's a fraction too long, and you don't notice it shooting in the yard. But when I go in the bush and I draw on an animal, it's just doesn't feel right. But as soon as I drop back to 28.5, I'm perfect.
Yeah, I remember seeing a video you put up about that, right? And you what happened? You took a shot and something went wrong?
Yeah,
or?
Shooting uphill. You just get that feeling that you can't, you're already there. And when you go to squeeze the trigger and pull them back muscles together, there's nowhere to go because you're overdrawn.
Yeah, okay.
Like you see guys with it all the time. They got their hip pushed out and they're leant back.
Yeah.
As soon as you start doing that, you go, mate, just shorten your draw length.
Yeah.
Not 90% of guys I see with the wrong draw length, they're too long. Mm-hmm. They're chasing speed, or someone's told them, give them the wrong. I had a guy here the other day, and he's the first guy I reckon I've ever seen. I said to him, mate, your draw length's too short. He's like, oh, no, really? I had a guy look at it. And I said, mate, let's just change it. And we changed it half an inch. And he's like, oh, yep, that's perfect. Now he couldn't get it. He had to bob his nose forward to get to the string.
Yeah.
And he was his elbow was like around. He was short. But anyway, I said to him, you're probably the first guy I've ever seen that's had your draw length was actually too short.
Yeah. Do you find that using like a back tension release changes that at all? Like, do you use back tension?
No, I don't. I don't use back tension. I've got a Carter like Mike, which I can. The trigger on mine's that hard, and I wrap me I wrap my finger around right back to the second knuckle, around the little. They've got like a little stainless, just a peg.
Yeah.
And then I just activate it by pulling back and squeezing.
So you're using it like a back tension though.
Yeah, I just got a back strap for training, which is exactly the same release pretty much, but it's back tension as well. Mm-hmm. But it's a bit of a pain in the ass because it shoots a different point of impact. So you can still train. I can still train close with it, but if I got out 40, 50 yards, I'd probably miss the target.
Yeah, okay.
The group's good and all that. It's good for that surprise shot, but it shoots a different point of impact. So I don't use it that much.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But yet, every now and then, everybody goes through a bit of target panic, and I do too. Every now and then I go out and I start to shoot and I think, whoa, I'm not good today. This is not very nice. And you're better off just put your bow away and come out again tomorrow.
Yeah. I always say make sure, especially on the days when you're shooting well, make sure you finish on a good shot as well. Like that little bit of a confidence booster can do all the justice for the next time as well.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah. It's nice to do that. Like I was when did I? Oh, it was raining. Well, as you know, it's been raining a few days in Brisbane, and when your bow's wet, it'll shoot different to when it's dry. And I knew that, and I started shooting when on a rainy day there, and I thought after about 10 shots, I thought, nah, I'm giving this away because I ain't changing my sight or doing anything here because I just wish I was shooting like 2-3 inches low all the time.
Yeah, wow.
And then I started getting a few left rights, and I thought, nah, I'll put it away. And I went out today and started shooting, and I was shooting golf balls at 40 yards. So it's
like your bow wasn't wet at all. Were you shooting in the actual rain? Like your bow was wet?
Nah, just water in the string.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, both. Like if you shoot in the rain and your string's wet, you want to really give your string a couple of plucks before you have a shot. You just try it. You put your bow out in the rain and get it wet, let your string get wet, and then fire a shot. You might shoot, man, at 25 yards, you could shoot 3-4 inches low.
Yeah.
It just,
there you go.
Had that experience shooting in the rain.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to know before you go out and make it happen that way. Actually, I did a podcast with Lonnie Brockman a few weeks ago. It'll be dropping sometime soon before this one. But he talked about he went out hunting sambar and the bow was like completely covered in snow. And I was like, did you try to draw it? He didn't. But yeah, it would have been interesting to see what could happen there.
Yeah, it probably would have shot different.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's actually it's a very interesting point. I was having this debate with my wife actually earlier. I think it was today or yesterday. So we've got this fallow rug upstairs, and ever since it's become winter, the fibers, like the fur fibers, are falling out a lot more. And I don't know if this is actually a thing, if because it's cooler that the fibers are essentially getting smaller, so therefore it's falling out more easy. She's like, nah, the dog's just been rolling on it more. I'm like, no, fuck off. It's not. That's not the case. Do you know if that's a thing?
Oh, no, I've never heard of that. Oh, but I've never.
So, might just be me making it
I've
up.
never really taken any notice, but yeah, I try not to let the dogs on my skins.
Yeah,
But they do. But deer hairs like that, it breaks pretty easy.
Yeah.
But I don't know that the cold
It does anything.
the cold does it or what. Yeah.
I might have to tell her I'm wrong for once.
I've got a big elk skin there in front of the fire, and I was like you see hair coming off it all the time, especially if the dogs do lay on it.
Yeah.
You'll see a few broken hairs, so I don't let them do that anymore.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Oh, that's interesting to talk about the arrow weights, and I think something that I probably don't put across enough is the fact that I am quite tall. Like I'm 6'1", and I have a draw of 30 inch, so I shoot about a 585 grain arrow.
Yep.
But I mean that still zips through animals. Like there's no problems with that. But I think that extra few inches of reach definitely makes a big difference, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. It's the same as Smithy. He's always up me about upping my arrow weight, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm bad with range, and I don't want to shoot under animals, and I don't have a problem with penetration. I think a lot of the penetration stuff is like, for example, I see girls, and now there ain't too many girls around that pull any more than 60 pound. Most of them are shooting 50 pound bows.
Yeah.
As long as they use a half decent weight arrow, they're not going to shoot 600 grains. They're probably going to shoot, high 400s or something like that with a sleek 2-blade broadhead that's razor sharp. They're going to punch clean through a deer. I've seen a girl shoot an elk with a 50 pound bow. Like it's horses for courses. Like if you're shooting, big bulky multi-bladed broadheads, then you probably need that weight. But like you shooting a 580, mate, you'll shoot anything in the world with that probably bar an elephant.
Yeah, wow.
I would imagine anyway, with the right broadhead, you'd probably shoot Cape Buffalo with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's not much, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's not much else. Like I did a moose hunt in Alaska, and I shot a mature bull moose with pretty big antlers, 60 inches or whatever they were, and I shot him with a 500 grain 2-blade.
Far out. And
it hit him behind the rib, drove right up through his body, and was lodged up in his offside shoulder. So it's just one of those things where arrow weight's great, but if there's always a give and take, no matter what you do, like you can. But that's just my opinion. Like you can have enough. You can't ever have too much, but then you get into the stage, like I said, where if an animal's 3 yards further than what you think he is, you're going to shoot under him.
Yeah, yeah.
I every now and then will shoot a 300 grain broadhead, like field tip, on the front of one of my arrows, a 250 spine arrow, and the difference at 25 yards is like 6 inches drop.
Wow.
So I can't. It might be more. Actually, it's on a Reinhardt. I nearly hit the bottom of the Reinhardt from the top dot. So
yeah, wow.
It could be 10 inches.
Yeah, I was going to say almost a foot.
Yeah. So I just can't afford that, because if an animal walks, it's not so bad if you sneak in on an animal, he's under. He's got no idea you're there, and you can range him. Then you can range him. You can shoot him with whatever you like. But if he comes into a call and he stops and he jumps out 3 yards and you don't think about it, blah, 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 then that's where you get into trouble, I think, with those super heavy, arrows. But everyone to their own. If you want to shoot them, go for your life. But yeah, I'm bad with distance, so I try and stay with something that gives me a bit of a mix of penetration and trajectory.
Yeah, I remember hearing a story of Cam Haines when he came out to Australia once, and he had a very heavy setup, and he took a shot, and he reckoned that the deer looked at him as he walked away. Looked at him as he walked out of the way of the arrow, and he's like, mate, I had to change my arrow really quickly. And that, I think that was kind of the big eye-opener, because the big conversation on FOC and stuff that was going on a long time ago, or it's still going on now, really, the battle that's going on about it, and I think just picking a weight that is suitable for yourself. So, yeah. Yeah,
it's, you don't want to give someone shooting a 50-pound bow a 600 grain arrow, and yet you'll see, especially like you would have to say that whitetail are very similar in size to our fallow and chittle and stuff like that. So there's no way in the world you need a 600 grain arrow to kill one.
Mm.
If you're not shooting through a whitetail deer with a with a 450 to 500 grain arrow, then you're not shooting them in the right place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've shot through a rooster stag's shoulder blade right through his body, and the arrow was sticking out near his flank. And I've shot a red deer exactly the same with a 480 grain arrow, and the arrow actually come out of his flank. And I don't think I found oh yes, I did. I found the broadhead laying on the ground in the blood trail.
Yeah. Wow.
And that was a 4-blade broadhead.
Far out.
And that was a deer at 20 yards that jumped the string and shot. I was shooting downhill on him, and it shot. The red deer did the same thing. Went straight through his shoulder blade, right through his body, come out his hip.
Yeah. Far out.
So
he was quartering onto you when you took the shot?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was close.
So when you're taking that shot, the quartering on shot, which way, whereabouts you're hitting on the inside of the shoulder, or you're not?
Depends.
Yeah. Okay.
That all depends on your quarter. Like if they're steep quarter, I aim inside the leg. If they're barely quarter, I'll aim at the triangle. But I put a video up on Instagram the other day of a shot like that on a chittle, and it's really a shot inside 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you go shooting at animals that are quartering at any further than that, they don't have to move anywhere, and you've shot them back through the guts, or you've shot them low in nail. That means laying back behind the elbow there where there's nothing, or you're just putting yourself in a world of hurt. Like quartering on shots, basically, you're best just to stay at full draw and just let him look around or turn or do something. Like 10 yards or something like that. Yep, maybe, but it's just a shot where I think if you're starting out bow hunting,
keep your broadside.
It's broadside, and that's it.
Yeah.
Shoot broadside.
Yeah, definitely.
Everybody says, "Oh, I love that quartering away shot." The quartering away shot to me is a nightmare. Mm-hmm. I've lost so many animals quartering away.
Yeah, okay. Based on the angle.
It's just when you hit that. If you think about the way an animal's rib cage tucks in towards their brisket and towards the front of their chest, so if an animal's quartering away to you, he looks quartering away, his rib cage is 3/4 away.
Yeah. And
a lot of the time when you shoot, they'll turn that way away from the noise. So then they're more quartering away, and you hit the ribs, and your arrow slips along the ribs and comes out the front of their chest, and you don't go inside the cavity. I've seen so many guys say, I smoked him. Like I hit him right in the middle of the ribs. He was quartering away, but I couldn't find him. Mate, you didn't even get him. He's still running.
Does it even leave a blood trail?
Oh, yeah, they'll bleed.
Yeah.
They'll bleed because you'll cut like big veins at the front of their neck here. You won't cut the real big arteries because they come out through their throat. But every now and then you do. I shot a red stag at 20 quartering away, but my mistake was instead of hitting him right back in the guts, I hit him halfway along the rib.
Yeah.
And it slipped right through, but because it was a bit high, it came out high-ish and cut his big artery. But I found him. The blood trail was like throwing buckets of water on the grass. But when I found him 10 minutes later, he was still alive, just laying there. He just couldn't get up. Yeah, he just bleeding out, but really slow. But that's the problem, and I've seen so many times. And you'll put a cut along their ribs 6 inches long. And if you do get them, you'll see where the broadhead hit the ribs sideways and slid straight along the ribs, and then it's just gone straight through and come out the front.
Yeah.
Never went inside the cavity.
Far out.
Yeah, you see lots of guys lose deer quartering away, and to me, I've just done it so many times. I've been fortunate to actually shoot them, and then they've gone and laid down, and I've shot them again. So then I get to open them up and have a look, and you can just see the cut right along their ribs. Just cut a piece into their rib bones.
I must admit, like watching some of the shots on pigs, like quartering away, I'll often be like, "Oh, that seemed like it was a bit far back," but then the pig runs up pretty quickly. But yeah,
the bit far back is probably the best.
Yeah.
If they're quartering away and you hit them back, you think, "Oh man, that wasn't a very good shot. That was back." But no, that's the one that slips up in and ends up. When I shot that moose, I thought, "Oh, that was a bit back." He moved a fraction as I fired, and it hit him behind the back rib, but ended up right up at the point of the offside shoulder.
Yeah.
It just went right up. It took that channel of least resistance straight up through him.
Yeah. And so if you had your ideal shot on a deer broadside, say for instance, are you trying to do a heart shot or a double lung shot? What's your preferred?
No, heart shot.
Heart shot all the time.
Always heart.
Yeah.
Always heart on a deer. If you try and shoot a deer double lung, you're not going to get him. You'll miss him.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless, if it's that 1 in 100 shot where he doesn't know you're there and he doesn't move.
Yeah.
But that's rare.
Yeah.
Most deer jump the string to some extent, And if you aim at that ticker just above the elbow there, or it's sort of depending on where his legs. If his legs were dead straight down, you'd hit him just above the elbow in that muscle in the triangle.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to aim right at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And that's, if he's 35 yards or something and he jumps a string, you'll hit him through the back straps.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. But if he's close, you'll get him. It's just every shot's different with a bow, like you just have to look where their legs are, their body language, everything. Like a chittle deer that's switched on, I don't care how far he is, he's going to jump the string a lot. Mm-hmm. If he's switched on to you, if he's seen you or keyed into you or he smelt you or the whole mob's turned on and he doesn't even know where you are, they're going to jump like crazy when that bow goes off.
Do you still happily take the shot? You just aim low?
Depends. Like that just all depends on how far he is.
Yeah.
If he's switched on under 20, I'll probably still, but I'll aim at the bottom of his brisket.
Mm-hmm.
And you're probably going to get him. But if he's any further, man, like it's just one of those things where you have to make that decision. But I think I've tagged a lot of chittle, and it's all chittle that I've not aimed low enough.
Yeah, wow.
Like once you get to a certain, I suppose, experience with a bow, you don't miss a deer. You don't miss anything. Mm. You just hit them wrong. If you do something wrong, it's just hit wrong. You've aimed not low enough. You don't get many left and rights. You just get that, I hit it. I aimed where I wanted to hit him. I didn't aim where I thought I should aim.
Yeah.
That bottom. Smithy always says this. When I say Smithy, I'm talking about Brad Smith from Bowhunt Down Under.
Yeah.
It's always that bottom line of dots. So I'm just looking at me deer here, me full mount, and that bottom line of dots to a deer standing normal is about level with their elbow. Mm-hmm. And you hit him just above the elbow. If you hit a deer just above the elbow there, not left of the elbow, not right of the elbow, just above or in the triangle, you'll kill him. They go nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing a video of a chittle. I think it was over in Hawaii, and the shot was done at 20 feet and 20 yards, sorry. The dude took the shot, and the deer literally ducks, twirls, watches the arrow go over him, just takes off. Like, it's just so crazy to watch.
Yeah, and that probably, if you put your dog in front of you and clap when he's not, you got to get him in that mood. But if you clap and watch your dog jump the string, watch him jump. They don't duck. They have to drop to push.
Push, yeah.
Yeah.
It's activation.
Yeah, and all animals do it. Yeah. But if you get a goat or a shoot a pig with his nose in diggins, then they obviously don't. You aim where you want to hit him. If you want to high lung him, you probably can. Mm. But as far as deer go, we're talking mainly about deer. Like, see, moose, they're the same. An elk that's switched on will jump the string pretty well.
Yeah.
I've had a big fella jump the string on me and I didn't get him. But the others, one elk I've got here on the wall, he jumped the string and I was lucky. I was only using a 500 grain arrow, 2-blade broadhead with steel broadhead up front, a steel insert, and I punched through his shoulder blade and high lunged him. So that was a bit of luck.
Yeah.
I shot a Roosevelt elk at 20 yards and I punched straight through him, but that was a rib shot. And I found the arrow, the arrow was 10, 15 yards the other side of him.
Wow.
Yeah. So, they'll jump the string, but the big fella that jumped the string on me, I was 35 or 40 yards. And he turned around and seen me take my last step before I was going to draw. And then he was looking at me. So he jumped the string big time.
Yeah.
And he was probably a 350, 360 bull. But he probably still alive, hopefully. Well, he's probably died of old age by now, a few years back.
When you get to go back over, hopefully he'll still be about.
He might be.
Mate, something I really like about what you do is putting out a lot of content in regards to just helping people. Like even just, I remember seeing one of your skinning videos probably a year ago or more now, where you just kind of go, when you're skinning out in the field and you skin down the back of the leg, literally just do a strip down the back and then cut around the legs that way.
Yep.
I just thought that was just a handy little tip, especially if you're not looking to kind of keep the hide or anything. More recently, you've just done a silver side off of this recent chital hunt that you've done. Do you want to talk to us about maybe just breaking down the back leg a little bit and then your silver siding, how you went about that?
Yeah, I think I remember that video. I think that video in particular you're talking about, where I skint down the back of the back leg, I did that just to show people that if you want a nice square skin, if you're going to get a skin tan, that's where you go. You go straight down the back of the Achilles tendon and straight to the arse from there, and then straight up the other side to there. If you come back into the guts more, you end up with a weird shaped skin instead of a nice square skin with legs sticking out.
Yeah, okay.
It just makes them more square, and then down the front shoulders almost to the front of the brisket, and then across and then up that front leg as well. But yeah, like breaking down a back leg, it's a bit hard to talk about that because it's more, it's easy to show, but it's hard. But there's basically three. Once you take your shin off at the knee joint, then there's basically just three cuts in a back leg. There's your round, which is at the front of the back leg, and it's pretty obvious. It's like this big round cut, and there's two seams, and you cut that out. You cut the top side out, which is inside the leg, so the gut side of the deer or the animal's leg, and the silver side's the outside. So that's that big, like your big thigh muscle that you would hit.
Yeah.
There, that's your silver side, and it's recognisable because it's silver.
Yeah, yeah.
It's basically one of the toughest cuts in the body, and that's why they corn it.
Yes.
So because no good for steak, so that's why people corn it or they mince it or whatever. But I actually I kept two silver sides off a stag I shot that was probably 3 or 4 year old, and it looked really good. And I thought, I'd really like to get this corn, but like butchers are not supposed to do it for you, and I don't have a pump.
Because you're meant to inject them, right?
Yeah, that's how butchers do it. They have proper corn stuff, with all your preservatives in it and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, back in the day, we'd punch holes in it with a bone and knife. Like you might, in a silver side that's probably 1.5 kilos or something like that, you might punch, 20 holes in it each side, and then we'd put it in the crisper, put maybe 2 or 3 handfuls of coarse salt in there with it, and just cover it with water. And then you can put I think with one of them, I put a lemon in there or a lime or something just for a bit of flavour. And then the next one I did a couple of days later, I put pineapple juice in with it.
Yeah, okay.
And then I leave it in there for probably 2 days in the crisper. So it's cool, like, it's not going to go off or anything. And it's corn, the salt water goes into the holes and then through the meat. I pulled it out, and when I cooked it, I've got a pressure cooker, so it only takes like 45 minutes. And when I cook it, I just put a lemon in with it. That seals the outside of it a bit, the acid. Yeah. And in salt water, in a fair bit of, like saying, probably a good handful of coarse salt in with it. Not the stuff you put on skins. It's got like a preservative sort of stuff in it, just sea salt.
Yeah.
And then I took it round to, we went out to dinner on Saturday night, and I cooked one of them with the pineapple. I cooked it on Saturday, and I took it out. And the people said, "Oh, what have we got?" And I said, "Oh, I just cooked the silver side. You make the white. We made the white sauce, and they did the cauliflower and all that sort of thing." And they ate it, and they said, "Wow, this is really different. This is the best corned meat I've ever had, I reckon." And I'm like, "Why?" And they said, "I don't know. It just tastes more natural. It tastes salt, just like salt, not like it's got no preservatives in it." And I said, "No, it's venison." And they went, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's venison. I just corned it in the fridge." And they couldn't. They believed it, but they're like, "Wow!" And I reckon too. I reckon it tastes better than what you buy, the corned meat you buy in the shop, and half that's probably because it is venison, so it's got that bit of wild flavour to it. Yeah. It's not overbearing or anything like that once you corn it, but if you boil it, you'd have to boil it for probably 4 hours. I think you do it for something like that. Whatever the recipe is, it'd be the same as doing a beef silver side of the same weight. But with the pressure cooker, it only takes like 45 minutes. So it comes up good, yeah. But I eat so much venison. I enjoy doing, I'll do stir fries, I'll bake it, I'll stew it, do silver sides. I really like the neck. I'll do this time of the year when it's cold. I'll just cut the neck with my chopper into pieces, and I'll make soup out of it, and then we'll have soup for a few nights, and then I just think it's a resource that Australians are just so not so much Australians as in us guys, because we would eat it, but so ignorant to the fact that authorities will go and shoot them and leave them lay in the paddock. Let us in there. Let people go and shoot something, but they don't want to because you'll take business off a butcher shop, or there's so many bullshit rules that they come up with. It might be disease. You might hurt yourself and you might sue us and all this bullshit. Like it's just a load of crap. It's something like in Europe and places like that, they pay probably $40-50 a kilo for something we're shooting and rotting in the paddock. And I think the ignorance is just stupid. I just hate it.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's especially here in Queensland, it's just it's an untouched resource. It's literally something that is going to waste at times.
Yeah, they're just poisoning deer and shooting them and letting them rot. And if you get caught in one of their paddocks, which we actually pay for, which we actually own, they want to fine you or put you in jail or do something because you've got a weapon and you're on our land. Whether you are our government land. Well, no, it's our land.
Yeah. But I actually heard that they're shutting off more and more of it as well. Like they're trying to make it pretty much so you can't go on it at all. Like humans in general, like whether you're full driving, camping, or doing anything, like they're trying to shut pretty much most of the Queensland free land off, essentially.
Oh yeah, because it's theirs.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Most of them that are doing it aren't paying taxes, whereas we are.
Yeah.
That's my thing. Hey, mate, I'm paying this much tax here. I probably own that paddock.
It's a good way to look at it. If only we could get away with that excuse.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I just look at them sometimes and I feel like saying, yeah, mate, whatever. How much is the fine here? But I'm getting me deer and I'm going.
Yeah. I've often thought like it'd be nice to at least know when they're doing their cull program, so you could run out and try get some meat after they've knocked a few over. But
no, they probably want to fine you for stealing their meat.
Exactly right. It's
it's just a joke, really. But anyway. That's the world we live in.
Yeah, unfortunately, I guess we just got to keep doing what we can do. But going back to the meat side of things, that's actually, I got a deer down just recently. It's something that I really enjoy doing is taking venison to people that have never really tried venison, but making it very differently for them. So when they try it, they're quite blown away with it. Like, oh, this is actually amazing. So yeah, doing lots of things like venison burgers or doing, I did venison sausages over Christmas, which I shared heaps, and recently been doing like some spaghetti bolognese and stuff like that. But I never thought of doing soups or stir fries with them. That's definitely going to be the next thing I try.
Yeah, I think from my experience with people, they say, "Oh no, I've tried venison. It's terrible. It's tough and it tastes really rank." And I'm like, it'd be like if you went and shot an old bull in the paddock that had been running around for 3 hours and then cut a piece of meat off him and took it home and tried to cook it. You're going to have the same experience.
Yeah.
If you shoot, if you're a rifle shooter or you want to shoot a deer for meat and you head shoot him, cut his throat straight away, get him gutted out, clean him up, hang him for a few days to a week or more in a chiller, cut him up, you're going to have as good a meat as you'll ever have. Mm-hmm. But do it, if you gut shoot a deer and you run, just go gut shoot an old red stag that's 8-year-old and he's rutting and chase him around for 2 hours you can do it and bleed him and then do everything the same. You're not going to be able to chew him.
Yeah.
It's horses for courses. Like you just, I suppose, I don't know where they got their venison from, probably, whether the butcher shop, whether they killed, whether they bought it or whatever, but they've just had a bad experience with it. It's no different to any other meat.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's just got no fat in it. That's all, basically.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little bit of fat on some deer, but you know, that's my opinion of it anyway. And it's no different to anything else. Like I've got, I don't know, I brought home maybe 200 kilos after in my last trip, and I'll probably be sick of it by the time I'm finished with that meat. But that's no different. Like you just imagine eating a whole lamb.
Yeah,
After you eat a whole lamb, you're like, oh yeah, I'm not eating lamb for another year. And you know, I'll get sick of it, and then after a few months, I'm like, I need another deer.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so yeah, and I've got to the stage now where I'll take the rib cage off and I'll cut the ribs.
Yeah,
I'll cut them and I'll do ribs. You know, I'll just get a ribs recipe out of a book, and instead of using lamb ribs or pork ribs or beef ribs, I'll just use venison ribs.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's just as good.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know, it's just another piece you can utilise, and even the heart. I was surprised
when that's one of the best parts.
Well, I'd never eaten heart before, and the caribou I shot that's on the wall here, the guy took the heart out of him and said, "What are we doing with that?" And he goes, "Oh, it's tradition that when you shoot a caribou, we'll eat the heart." And I was like, "Oh," and Brad's looking at me, and I'm like, "You're eating it if I'm eating it." And he's like, "I don't know, I'm not eating heart." Anyway, we sat there around the fire that night, and it was that freaking cold in Alaska, and we're that hungry because we'd half run out of food. We ate the heart, and it was crumbed, and it was quite good. And I've tried it out of Australian deer, out of here, and see, it's not an organ, your heart, it's a muscle.
It's a muscle.
So,
yeah.
and it's a fairly soft muscle, so surprisingly, it's fairly tender and it's pretty nice eating.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Just a little bit of salt and pepper. I actually think heart is by far the best part.
Yeah. Like, you know, everyone thinks, oh, no, that's just like liver. It's an organ. I'm like, no, it's a muscle.
Yeah.
It's just a pump. It doesn't siphon anything or do anything like that, your heart. All it does is pumps. It just pumps your blood around your body, basically. So it's just a muscle.
The other thing I'd encourage people to try is a tongue. I don't know if you've ever utilised tongue, but geez, it's good. If it's done right, it's good.
Corned tongue.
Corn tongue.
We went to a restaurant in Japan when I was over there, just before the end of COVID, and the guy that took us out said, "What sort of restaurant do you want to go to?" And we don't care. We'll just go Japanese. We'll eat your food. Anyway, he said, "Oh yeah, I know a tongue restaurant," and like they've got a bit of an accent, so
yeah.
we're like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" "Yeah, that'll do, righto." So we're in there and we're eating this meat, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, because I've seen tongue cooked before, and I'm thinking, I said, "What sort of restaurant is this? Like, what sort of meat is it?" And he's like, "Oh," and there was maybe half a dozen of us. It was just me and Marnie, my daughter, and then there was these Japanese people, and they're like, "Tongue." And I'm like, "Tongue? What's tongue?" And Marnie's going, "What's tongue?" And we're eating away. And oh, this is really nice, you know. And then the penny dropped, and I was like, he goes, "Tongue," you know, and he grabs his tongue, and I'm like, "Oh no!" And Marnie's like, she's looking at me and goes, "It's not tongue, not tongue. Is it like this thing in my mouth? Is that just tongue? Am I eating tongue?" And I'm like, "It looks like it." Oh, geez, it was funny. That was the end. She didn't eat any more, and I'm like, "You've eaten half a kilo already."
Might as well keep going.
Yeah, but I think it's like anything. It's just a muscle too, but it's a fairly tough muscle. That's why they corn it mostly too.
Yeah,
but this was just really thin. This was really thinly cut and fried, and it was nice.
Yeah, I think we everything's been too westernized, right? Like we really think of organs as even being something that's quite gross, whereas realistically, it's like the most nutritious part of the beasts, and it's like the part that's always the most sacred.
Well, you know, we grew up eating lamb's fry, which is lamb's liver, and brains, and you know, all that sort of stuff. I can still remember, Mum had like we'd kill a beast, and she'd get the gut and clean the gut out and wash it and bleach it, and that was tripe. And I was like, no, I can't eat that though. I'll eat liver and I'll eat all that sort of stuff, but no, I wasn't going to eat tripe.
How would she bleach it? Like actually?
Mate, they bleach it and then they boil it. And, yeah, I think with bleach. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I can't. I just used to watch her hosing it out on the clothesline and all this sort of stuff, and I was like, nah, that's it for me.
Not touching it.
And all the chooks running around eating the guts and yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, mate, I actually think I could talk to you for hours. Like, the amount of stories you must have up your sleeve is ridiculous. But maybe just kind of hit us with one of your favourite stories to finish up with.
Oh, I don't know, like what, a hunting story?
Yeah, hit us up with one of your favourite bow hunting stories. If you had to tell a story to someone to convince them to go out bow hunting, being that you've been a rifle hunter and a bow hunter, and you wanted to convert someone from being a rifle hunter to a bow hunter, what would be the story you'd tell them?
Like, for experience and like as far as a story goes, or as far as an experience in bow hunting goes, like to end up like this is after you. Like, in my opinion, guys who start bow hunting should, and like this is old school, so you should start at the bottom and work up. So go shoot rabbits, go shoot foxes, go shoot goats, go shoot pigs, and work your way up into deer and blah, blah, blah. You know, obviously guys don't get that opportunity sometimes, but once you work your way up, and then just to go to America and hunt elk, like just the first time you hear a bugle, an elk bugle. I remember me and Brad and my girlfriend at the time, we walked around. We had 12,000 acres I got access to in Idaho, and we walked around. I think we walked around for 3 days and never seen a bull. We could see tracks, and it took us that long. We were just there. We had no guides. We had no help. And then our first elk we ever seen was like, wow. Like, we just stood there looking at a bull. And he was walking away. Like, he didn't know we were there, but he was walking off to bed. It was just that whole, like, that was 3 weeks of daylight till dark in the high desert of Idaho. But you're like on a high the whole time. Once you got on the plane to come home, it was like you slept for 2 days. Yeah. Like, you were just high. And then I remember I went to Alaska, and we flew 300 miles from Fairbanks into the Arctic wilderness. You take off. It's a float plane, so you take off a lake. You go straight up. You cut through the cloud. You got to go over, and when you get through the cloud, you can see mountain peaks in front of you, and you have to go through this big opening in the mountains, like the peak tops. You've got to get. We're going through that, and I'm saying to the guy, "Are we going to get over there?" And he goes, "Well, we have to get over there."
Yeah.
And I'm like, so we climb and climb and climb, and we get over this thing, and then underneath you is cloud.
Wow.
And he goes, "See that hole in the cloud?" And he said, "So if we break down, we have to glide. I have to cut through one of them holes so I can see the ground, so I can land on a lake. And then once the cloud dissipated, you just had looked like thousands of miles of tundra and lakes and pine, and tundra and lakes and pine. And we flew over this thing for, I don't know how many hours it took us to get, maybe 4 or 5 hours to do the trip. And then you land on a lake with snow-capped mountains around you, and you set up a camp on the bank, which looked okay from the air, but when you get on the tundra, it's like walking on sponge with massive holes in it. And we had to sleep on this tundra, and like me and Brad both looked at each other and said, "Where are we setting the tent up?" And the guy goes, "Anywhere you can find." And we're like, he goes, "Yeah, you just sort of sleep in a hole."
Wow.
And just to do that and be there for 10 days. I can remember the first day we set the tent up, and I was like, "Is my ears funny? What can I hear?" And Brad's like, "Oh, I can hear that too. It's like water running." And the guy goes, "No, it's caribou." I'm like, "What do you mean it's caribou?" He goes, "I just walk up there 50 yards and you can sort of get on a bit of a rise. It's all flat, and you look out, and all you could see for miles was antlers."
Yeah, wow. When
just thousands of caribou migrating past you.
Yeah, amazing.
It was just, and then the first moose you ever see. I think we were hunting caribou, and I heard this noise, and I said to the guide, I don't know anything about moose, but I reckon I just heard like a moose gluck. And he goes, nah, I don't think so. I didn't hear anything. And Brad goes, "Nah, I don't know. You're off your head, And I was like, "Yeah, right." And then we're standing there talking about it, and it does it again. And the guy goes, "It is a moose." But it wasn't moose season yet. It still had 2 days to go or something. And I'm looking at Brad, and he's looking at me. We were sort of on our way back to camp, and I'm like, "I want to see this moose." And I said to the guy, "Can we take a little detour?" And he goes, camp's there. I'm going to walk back to camp. You guys go do whatever you like. So we snacked down. We called this moose in, and when it got to about, I don't know, 15 or 20 yards, Brad's right behind me with the camera over my shoulder. He's like, we can't shoot this thing. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but how good's this? And he goes, yeah, but it's still coming at us and it's 15 yards. So then we sort of stepped out in the open and sort of had a bit of a stare off with it. And this thing just stood there.
Wow.
Like they've never seen humans. This place is untouched. Like it's 300 miles inside the Arctic wilderness, and there's only something like 300 people that live in, I don't know, 1 million square kilometres or whatever it is. But you're not allowed to live there unless you were born in there.
Jesus.
There's no towns in there.
How big's a moose? Like when you see a moose staring straight at you when you're standing straight onto the
draft horse.
Yeah, wow.
Like that big. That the first one I seen was probably a 60 to 70 inch, like massive. Like he was just the sort of thing every person in the world would want to shoot. And I had hold of my bow in my left hand, thinking, oh man, have I got enough bow to shoot this thing? Like they are big.
Yeah,
like they are muscly. They're like a massive big draft horse. Like you dead set. If I was standing next to this moose, I couldn't have looked over his shoulder.
Yeah, wow.
They're big. Like you can't move them. Like when I shot the one I shot, I caped the guide jumped in the. We just had like a new inflatable canoe. He jumped in that, paddled back across the lake to get the other guide, and I said, I'll start caping him out. I could only cape one side of him and skin one side. That was it. I'm done. You can't move him.
Yeah.
Like it took two of us, or three of us, just to turn him over to do the other side.
How much meat do you reckon you got off of it?
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. He'd have to be 1,000 kilos. Would they be, or 800 kilos live weight, or 1,000? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they'd weigh. They're just a draft horse.
Yeah. Mate, that's
whatever
insane.
they weigh.
That's insane.
Yeah. So, but like that's my whole point with arrow stuff. Like if you're gonna shoot a 700 grain arrow, you'd shoot it at a moose, but you don't need it.
No, exactly.
Yeah. But
man,
anyway,
that's interesting.
That's
It's
a
funny,
different
like
subject.
of all of that, like you didn't really talk much about actually taking a shot of an animal, right? Like that's not what bow hunting is actually about. Really, it's about the adventure, isn't it? It's about the experience that that it provides.
Yeah, like it's that whole firing the arrow. Anyone can do that.
Yeah.
Like that's a fact. Like I've got mates who are probably way better shots than me with a bow. Like you see it. It's no different to taking someone like, you take a guy that shoots clay targets and take him out duck shooting or quail shooting and he can't hit a feather.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's not really what it's about as far as bow hunting goes. You could be the best shot in the world and never shoot anything, even if you went bow hunting. But it's that whole art. To me, it's the art of the whole stalk, sitting back. And when I started, I was hopeless. I was like a rifle shooter. I would just, there's a pig or there's a deer or something, and rush in. But now I might stand there for 5 minutes and watch him and go, well, his mood is he's not settled yet. I'm just going to stay here. The wind's good. And basically my attitude now is I want one shot, and I don't care if it takes me all day to get it. I don't have to rush back to camp for lunch. I don't need a drink. I'm just going to sit here and watch this deer. And if he lays down and the wind's right, I'll sneak in and I'll sit there for 2 hours if I have to.
Yeah.
And when he raises, I'll try and shoot him. And if it doesn't work, then I'll either pull out and I'll come back tomorrow and try and find him again, or I'll get him, or the wind will swell and he'll bust me, and that's bad luck. I'll go find another one.
Yeah.
It's patience, I reckon. It's just patience. It's impatience that kills it.
Yeah, I was going to say it's definitely what I've not learnt to do yet. Like I've still been very much in the mindset of, okay, there's deer, I'm going to go to the deer instead of sitting back and watching for long enough.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
everyone when they start out. It's that you're so keen, you just want to get in there and get a shot. But it's that the learning process is the fact that I don't have to get a shot now, and if you talk to most experienced bow hunters, I would say they would say to you, way more than 50% of the animals they shoot will be between 9 and 3.
Yeah, wow.
Like you don't, I'll shoot pigs or goats or whatever early, but if I shoot a deer, I would guess that 90% of the deer I've shot are between 9 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon.
And so you're spotting them while they're already bedded, mainly, or
you might spot them at 6.
Yeah. Just follow
but
along
if they're walking or traveling, you can't get on them. You can't stalk them with their heads in the air or anything like that. So just let them go. Just watch them stay downwind.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on them. Watch where they go. Okay, they're bedded down. They're settled. Yep, they've all got their eyes shut. Now I'll crawl in. And the wind's picked up and the wind's decided what it's going to do for the day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, often you try and get in there early. Like I did a stalk here like when I was away, and I knew that at about 10 o'clock the wind was going to change, but it was going to change badly for me anyway. So I thought, I've got to try and get on these. This stag was bedded with a doe, and I got to within about probably 70 yards of him, and I thought, yep. And I felt the wind stop, and I thought, I'm in trouble. So I rushed it a little bit, and I got to probably 60 yards, and the wind changed.
Yeah, yeah.
But I knew it was going to happen, but it just happened too quick on me, and last I seen was them trotting off through the scrub. But yeah, it's just a patience. That's for me. Like other guys just like shooting a bow and shooting at animals or do whatever. But for me, it's that whole take your time. And, it's the same thing with that Alaska trip. I sat down, like the guides I had were really good. They were good guys. And I'd go back with them any day. But they'd never taken bow hunters before. Yeah, and their attitude was just rush in and get a shot. Yeah. And I had to sit them down after, I think, about the third or fourth day and say, listen, like me and Brad, this is how we want to do it. He's got a camera. We want you to call the moose. We're going to triangulate. So that moose is going to walk past us at 10, 20, 30 yards. We're going to shoot him and it's going to be all on film. But we know what we're doing. You have to trust us, because a couple of times they didn't trust us and they moved and come forward, and the moose stopped, seen them and ruined a shot. But we had one moose that was going to walk past me at probably 10 yards, and he stopped at 25, and I couldn't shoot him for the willows. I could see his head and his antlers, but I couldn't see his body. And the guide moved on me and showed himself, and the moose seen him. So we just sat down and had a talk and said, look, we understand that you don't understand bow hunters, but this is what you've got to do. And eventually it worked out, we become mates, and they've invited us back and all that sort of thing. But that was just, they always have rifle shooters, so they didn't understand. But yeah, it's that's just bow hunting. It's like, well, I swung my camera around and you've seen all the heads
all
and
over all over your house.
That's about a quarter of them, like the places. Most times now, if the stag's not worth me out, I just cut his antlers off and I use them as some sort of ornament around the place. So.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not really. I'm just as happy shooting a double four red or if it's a cull stag chittle. I'm not unhappy to shoot anything like that. I know the big ones are always good to put on the wall, but like I said earlier, it takes just as much skill to shoot a small stag as it does a big one. And for me, the skill in it is getting close, and that's the rush for me. Being really close and putting that arrow right through where it's supposed to go, and watching a stag fall over, 20 or 30 or 50 yards from me, where he stops and just topples over and has a nice calm death. And he didn't know you were there in the first place is always ideal too. Yeah. And same with any animal. You shoot an animal that has got no clue you're there. There's no more satisfying thing. You've pulled off a good shot. You've got in close and he had no idea you were there. So you fooled him on all levels, and that's what I think bow hunting is about. But that's probably more opinion than factual. It's probably different to other guys.
I still think there's a lot of things that people can pull away from it, even if they don't share the same opinion, right? Like there's nothing wrong with what you're saying. Like like you said, there's a few or a lot of big wins in that. So I think it's only things that people can
a lot of times I'll get enjoyment in. I'll call an animal in or whatever, and if you make up your mind pretty quick when you see an animal if you want to shoot him. And sometimes you call them in and you just stand there and you'll have a red stag at 5 yards roaring at you. And to me, if I go home that day and don't fire an arrow, I haven't had a bad time.
No,
that's for sure.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Harry, this has been awesome, man. I've got a few questions down here, and I think we touched maybe 3 of them. I've got a whole list of questions there to go, so it means that we're going to have a part 2 for sure. But
Aye.
people listening along, they can follow you on Instagram. It's I Hunt Fish. So it's literally just all one word, I Hunt and Fish. So yeah, they can head across and follow you there, or they can find your tackle stuff at www.jackal.com.au.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on that. And Jackal Australia, I do a lot of the Instagram stuff on there as well.
Yeah, unreal, man. Well, thank you very much for your time, dude. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Hope to help some learners out. Might have given them some sort of decent advice.
Nah, it definitely has. It's been good.
Yep. Thanks, mate.
That wraps up this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us, team. If you did have any topics, questions, or you wanted to suggest a guest for Becoming a Bowhunter, you can send me an email at matty@becomingabowhunter.com. If you are enjoying the show or you've enjoyed in particular episodes, please do me a solid and share it around with your friends. If you are not already, please hit the subscribe button, as the more subscribers we get, the higher the podcast gets ranked, and that definitely helps out for showing it to other individuals. If you are not already following me on Instagram, it's at becomingabowhunter.podcast, and on YouTube, it's Becoming a Bowhunter. Get out, team, fling some arrows, get that practice in, and walk those yards in the paddocks until you find those critters. That is it for now, but not the last time that you'll hear from Becoming a Bowhunter.